Good morning and welcome to Toronto Police Headquarters. I am Constable Jennifer Sidhu. Today, Financial Crimes will be launching Fraud Prevention Month. This year's theme is Working Together to Combat Fraud. I would like to introduce Inspector Peter Callaghan of Financial Crimes. Sir?
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the members in the media gallery and our partners present online. Today, with great enthusiasm, we officially kick off Fraud Prevention Month that runs throughout the month of March. Fraud Prevention Month is an annual campaign that seeks to help you recognize and reject and report fraud. We are joined by representatives this morning of the Competition Bureau of Canada, the Better Business Bureau of Canada, the Ontario Securities Commission, and Interac. This year marks the 16th anniversary of the annual Education and Awareness Campaign for Fraud Prevention Month. The philosophy is for Canadians to recognize, reject, and report fraud. The Canadian Competition Bureau has been spearheading Fraud Prevention Month together with 125 law enforcement agencies, the public, and private sector organizations over that 16-year period. Fraud does not know any barriers with respect to age, gender, socioeconomic levels, intellect, or cultural groups. We are equally vulnerable to fraudsters that would convince each and every one of us that they are genuine in their request for money. However, in all those cases, the result is fraud and great personal loss to the victims involved. One of the events that we will be sponsoring later this month is an annual shredding event located at St. Fidelis Catholic School, an initiative with our 12 Division and the Electronic Recycling Association of Canada and the Ontario Provincial Police. I'm going to call upon some of our partners now to say a few words to kick off Fraud Prevention Month. First, I'm going to ask Josephine Palumbo, Deputy Commissioner of Deceptive Marketing Practices of the Competition Bureau of Canada, to say a few words.
First of all, I would like to thank the Toronto Police Service, Inspector Callaghan, and Detective Regan for hosting this event again this year and for inviting the Competition Bureau to join you here today for the launch of Fraud Prevention Month. The Competition Bureau is an independent federal law enforcement agency that ensures Canadians prosper in a competitive and innovative marketplace. It is our job to enforce the Competition Act, which addresses deceptive marketing practices. Le Bureau est responsable de l'administration et de l'application de la loi sur la concurrence qui adresse les pratiques commerciales trompeuses. For 16 years, the Competition Bureau has led as chair the Fraud Prevention Month campaign awareness. And this year, working with over 60 partners across Canada, including the Toronto Police Service, we aim to improve awareness among Canadians, consumers, and business owners about the dangers of fraud. Knowledge is power, and during the month of March, the Competition Bureau and its nationwide partners will help Canadians recognize, reject, and report fraud. This is truly an important mission. According to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, or the CAFC, Canadians lost over $98 million to fraud in 2019 alone. We know that scammers can target anyone. Everyone is at risk of fraud, from young teens to the elderly, from consumers to big corporations. Statistics also show that Canadians are more connected than ever. As our lives take an increasingly digital turn, our risks of exposure to fraud is heightened. New technologies and constant connection having given fraudsters far more reach than ever before. The Competition Bureau is keenly aware of the sophisticated scams taking place online. And indeed, while scammers have traditionally targeted populations that are considered most vulnerable, children, seniors, new Canadians, they are continually adapting and are using cutting-edge digital tools to cheat Canadians. The internet has become the fraudster's toolbox kit. That is why we are working hard this month and all year long to raise awareness so that Canadians can navigate the digital world with trust and with confidence. Le Bureau de la concurrence est parfaitement conscient des fraudes sophistiquées qui ont lieu en ligne. C'est pourquoi nous travaillons dur ce mois-ci et toute l'année pour sensibiliser les citoyens canadiens afin qu'ils puissent naviguer dans le monde numérique en toute confiance. In keeping with its mandate of focusing on the rapidly growing sector that is the digital economy, this year, the Competition Bureau will focus on digitally enabled fraud. We are going digital in two ways. First, our campaign is paperless and focused on social media. Follow the hashtag FPM2020 to find all of our posts. Suivez-nous sur nos médias sociaux ou par le mot-clic MPF de 2020. Second, we're publishing 2 consumer alerts to inform Canadians about the risk of online subscription traps and deceptive telemarketing. For more tips on how to stay safe and properly report common frauds, Canadians can also consult the Competition Bureau's Little Black Book of Scams, Volume 2, which is available for free on our website in English, in French, and in 6 other languages. It's a great tool to share. Pour plus de conseils sur la protection et le signalement des fraudes les plus courants, les Canadiens peuvent également consulter le Petit Livre noir de la fraude, volume 2. C'est un excellent outil à partager. The Bureau is also working with key partners like the CAFC, the RCMP, and other police services across Canada to encourage victims of fraud to file reports. The CAFC estimates that Canadians report approximately 5% of fraud cases to the authorities, and this means that the actual impact of fraud to our society is even more important than these figures suggest. This also means that law enforcement agencies have a harder time staying ahead of the game and obtaining the necessary evidence we need to catch perpetrators, bring them forward to face justice, and warn the public about potential fraud. We as law enforcement agencies want to remind Canadians who have been victimized by malicious scammers that there is no shame. There's no shame in reporting incidents of fraud to the authorities. Reporting suspected fraud is one of the best ways Canadians can help authorities gather evidence and bring down fraudsters. It also helps better protect other consumers and businesses that might fall prey to fraud in the future. The Competition Bureau uses superheroes in the images for its Fraud Prevention Month campaign, and this is no coincidence. We want Canadians to be inspired, to become fraud-fighting superheroes themselves. Everyday Canadians can feel empowered at every step when gaining knowledge about fraud, when spotting something fishy in an ad while browsing social media, when remembering the ever-important tip to never send money to someone they don't know and to always safeguard your personal information, like your social insurance number, and by reporting fraud to the authorities, very important for us all. In closing, I would like to remind everyone that the fraud prevention is a year-long undertaking, a year-long commitment. Every Canadian can join the fight against fraud. Remember the 3 R's. Recognize the signs, reject suspicious claims, and report to the authorities. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Josephine. This year, we're welcoming the Better Business Bureau, who have long been working on this same topic, and we're happy that they're here to join us today. They're going to introduce their top 10 scams of 2019. I'm going to invite Patrick McKeen to come and say a few words.
Thank you very much. Good morning. On behalf of the 10 Better Business Bureau offices in Canada and more than 25,000 accredited businesses that support us, I'd like to thank first the Toronto Police Service for helping us to raise awareness about the most significant risks that Canadians reported in 2019. The Better Business Bureau is a service that millions of Canadians access for free every year. Consumers look to BBB to find marketplace information, to do research, and to share marketplace experiences. We are a place where consumers' voices are amplified. We celebrate businesses doing right by their consumers and call out those businesses that mislead, that break promises, or just generally take shortcuts. It's worth adding that BBB is a nonprofit organization that does not receive government funding. Our work is funded exclusively from the support of the 25,000 accredited businesses that believe in and support our mission. We interact with Canadian consumers and businesses via bbb.org, a platform that was visited by Canadians more than 30 million times last year. Among the resources that we offer on bbb.org is our Scam Tracker. It's a tool designed to help Canadians report when they have been or think they've been scammed. It is the Scam Tracker data that we use to prepare our risk report and the top 10 scams that we're reporting today. We have copies of the risk report available to share with anyone who would like those, and we're happy to speak to anyone who has additional questions. With that said, I'd like to highlight a few key messages from our risk report. First off, scams are underreported. The data collected by our Scam Tracker is just the tip of the iceberg. We know that consumers are reluctant to report scams because they feel ashamed because they were victimized. They feel foolish that they maybe should have known better. And frequently, victims are already isolated or lonely and are reluctant to reach out. Scams do not just target older consumers. While it's true that older consumers tend to have the highest dollar loss, it's consumers 44 years of age and under that are the most susceptible and see the highest frequency of scam. Our summary refers to our BBB risk report, our risk index. It's a formula based on exposure, susceptibility, and monetary loss. So exposure, the number of times that a consumer might see a scam, the susceptibility, the likelihood that they might fall victim to a scam, and the monetary loss, the typical average amount of money they might lose. It's a three-dimensional estimate of the riskiest scams. This year, we see cryptocurrency jumping onto our list of top 10 from being a small subset of investment-type scams in the past. The number one risk we identified was travel, vacation, and timeshare scams, where typical loss was $5,000, and 62% of the time, victims who were exposed were victimized. I should say, for the first time since 2015, tax scams were not on our top 10 list. And although Canadians still lose a significant amounts to these the CRA-type scams, the report suggests that, in fact, Canadians are getting the information and that it's the combined, coordinated, and consistent efforts of agencies like the Better Business Bureau, Canadian Anti-Fraud, the Competition Bureau, Canada Revenue Agency, and the Toronto Police Service that have helped to get the message out. Consumer education is an ongoing effort, and it is our best weapon in the fight. So remember, if it seems too good to be true, and you believe it can't happen to you, then that's when we have to remind ourselves to be most vigilant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm now going to call upon Tyler Fleming, Director of the Investor Office from the Ontario Securities Commission, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. Today's the RRSP deadline. We're entering tax season. Money's on people's minds, but the fraudsters, the bad guys, have your money on their mind too, and that's why we're here to help you protect it. My name is Tyler Fleming. I'm the Director of the Investor Office at the Ontario Securities Commission. The Ontario Securities Commission is the government agency responsible for overseeing the capital markets in Ontario, as well as the people and businesses that operate in them. March is Fraud Prevention Month, and we know that investment fraud is devastating for people. It can cause significant emotional harm, health and mental well-being issues, and of course the financial losses people suffer. We know that also fraud doesn't just hurt the people who lose money. It affects the trust and confidence people have in the markets and the businesses and people that operate in them. We know that many people are affected by fraud. 1 in 25 Canadians report being the victim of investment fraud. 1 in 5 say they've been approached about an investment fraud, but only 1 in 3 people who are approached report that they reported it to the authorities. Fraud is an underreported crime. The sad reality is once someone realizes a fraud has occurred, the money is likely already long gone. And so the best way we can help keep people with their money is to educate them and prevent the fraud from happening in the first place. And so we at the OSC, we're meeting people at the front lines in order to educate them about some of the warning signs and red flags of fraud and ways they can protect themselves. We want people to recognize fraud, we want them to reject it, and we want them to report it. We often see some common themes in the frauds that we see and that people suffer from. And we want people to know if they recognize some of the common themes of these frauds, they may be able to better protect themselves. And so I'll go through 3 red flags of fraud right now. Number 1, promises of high return with little to no risks. Number 2, if you're pressured to buy or make a decision on the spot. And then 3, if the person or business is not registered with the securities regulator. So first, promises of high returns with little to no risk. If someone's promising you high returns, saying it's guaranteed, you're going to get it for sure, that's a big red flag we want to warn people about. Investments that are considered to be low risk generally have returns similar to GIC rates. So right now, 1 to maybe 3% if you're lucky. If someone's promising you much more than that, saying it's guaranteed, you'll get it for sure, that's a big red flag. A second red flag is if you're pressured to buy. Legitimate investment opportunities, you don't need to make a decision on the spot. If someone's telling you you only have a certain amount of time to do it, they're trying to trigger your emotions or your fear of missing out, that's a big red flag. And then a third red flag is if someone is not registered with the securities regulator. Registration means that we know who they are, we know their background, we know if they have a disciplinary history. If someone is trying to sell you an investment or give you investment advice and they're not registered, that's a big red flag. We do a lot of work at the Ontario Securities Commission to educate people about their finances. Our website, getsmarteraboutmoney.ca, it's Canada's most visited financial education website. Again, getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. Millions of people use it every year to learn about their finances, to spot red flags of fraud, and what steps they should take to protect themselves. We also go to Main Street, seminars and presentations all across the province in order to meet people where they are or in order to protect them. We know it's important. We're not the Toronto Securities Commission, we're the Ontario Securities Commission, and so we need to meet people where they are to protect them. If I could leave you with one last thing, if you or someone you know has been the victim of an investment fraud in the past, please, I'd encourage you to still contact the OSC. You may think it was a long time ago, maybe you're even embarrassed, or your relative or your friend is embarrassed, but please contact us. You don't know if that same fraudster is taking advantage of other people. We don't know that either, so please contact us, even if it was a long time ago. In doing so, you may be able to prevent other people from becoming a victim, just like you or your loved one was. If in doubt, just contact the OSC. You can look us up on the internet, look for Ontario Securities Commission, or you can call us at 1-877-785-1555. Again, that's 1-877-785-1555, or look us up on the internet. Thank you again.
Last but not least, I'm going to ask Rachel Jolicoeur of Interac to come and say a few words.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm pleased to be here with you today. Interac welcomes the opportunity to support Fraud Prevention Month, as we do every year. The fraud landscape is transforming, and Canadians across the country are facing scam attempts at every turn. While many Canadians recognize the various ways fraudsters can strike, 62% say they are concerned about it more than ever before. Interac recently conducted a study that confirms Canadians are being targeted nonstop through various channels, such as phone, email, text, and social media. Nearly half of Canadians or their families report falling victim to fraud, emphasizing the importance for Canadians to increase their fraud literacy and awareness. With the right prevention strategies, it is possible for individuals to arm themselves against the threat of fraud. In recognition of Fraud Prevention Month, Interac has compiled the following tips that we believe will help Canadians to be on the alert and protect themselves against the various fraud attempts that come at them daily. Stop, scrutinize, and speak up to avoid scams. Stop. Take a moment to pause. Think and follow your instincts. Don't feel rushed. to respond to something that seems to have an element of urgency. Scrutinize. Assess the situation and look for the telltale signs of a scam. Does it seem likely that the police have issued a warrant for your arrest because you haven't paid your taxes and they're contacting you by phone? Speak up. Confirm the validity and report any concerns. If you don't trust that the request is real, don't act on it. If you did, report it to your local law enforcement and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Canadians are the first line of defense in preventing fraud, and they have an important role to play in the defense against identity theft. You can find out more tips about fraud prevention on our website, newsroom.interac.ca. Again, it's a great pleasure for Interac to support Fraud Prevention Month. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. As you can see, that fraud prevention, whether it's Fraud Prevention Month or any other time of the year, is a partnership by law enforcement, government agencies, and the business community. We'd also like to recognize another partnership effort of the Toronto Police Service. 20 years ago, we began the Toronto Strategic Partnership, collaborating with Canadian and U.S. law enforcement and government agencies to better combat cross-border mass marketing fraud. The members of the Toronto Strategic Partnership are the Toronto Police Service, the United States Postal Inspection Service, the United States Federal Trade Commission, Competition Bureau of Canada, the Ontario Ministry of Finance, the Ontario Ministry of Government and Consumer Services, Canada Post Security and Investigation Services, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Together, we are working to combat mass marketing fraud across the border and around North America. We'd also like to acknowledge Interac, the federal agency responsible for providing intelligence to detect, prevent, and deter money laundering and the use of financial instruments for terrorist activities. We'll take questions from any of the media present here in the gallery and online, and some of our partners have brought materials available to my right to be shared with anyone here present in the room. If there are any questions, I'll field those now. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Thank you for joining us online, and thank you for helping us to combat scams and frauds this Fraud Prevention Month.
Thank you. That concludes today's news conference. There are a number of pamphlets available on the table here on the side. Thank you.